put it on. Okay, so I'll share my screen. And you should now be able to see the gold chart for today. And I'm just keeping an eye on because I've actually entered a trade early this morning. And it's meandering about a little bit. I'm in profit. I'm about 20 pips in profit at the minute, but it's going backwards. Right, okay, so I'll just go through the setup, just in case there's anybody on Facebook that hasn't seen this before. If I remove the drawings and start from scratch. Right, so there's the bear chart. And basically I put on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that one there, drop down menu, fixed range volume profile, and I click on yesterday's first candle and yesterday's last candle. And that gives me the point of control from yesterday. So I'll extend that line. Make that red. And then I need to put 2 other lines on. One at the top of the 70% area, one at the bottom. And just to zoom in and check that I've got those accurately placed. And that one's spot on. That one is spot on. So I'll come zoom out again and just to double check. So there we've got the field of play for today. This is our target, the red line. This is a value area high, and this is the value area low. As you can see, we've already been, this is today, we've already been down to the target once, twice, and now we're moving away from it. I entered the trade round about here this morning, and it went steadily upwards, and in the last 2 candles it started to retrace. But as I say, I'm still 20 pips in profit on that one. Okay, so I'll go back to get rid of that, and I'll put the VPS3. That's the one that you get on the paid version of TradingView. The first thing I normally do is I go on the 1 hour chart and I take a look at the bigger picture, just so I know where we're at. As you can see, if you go back to the 25th of January, we were in a trending down market, and ever since the 28th of January, we've been trending upwards, with the exception of yesterday when there was quite a big drop. That's yesterday there. Now, we need to try and work out where price is going to go today. It's got, well, as with all trades, it's got basically 3 options. It can either go up, or it can go down, or it can go sideways. Looking at previous days, I don't think it's going to go sideways for very long. I've got a feeling it might continue to go up and that's mainly because of the current world situation. Because people are worried about what's going on in the Ukraine, they might well be investing in gold rather than dollars. And I suspect that in the long term, price is going to continue to go up. However, there are some alternatives. There are 1, 2, 3, there are at least 4 what we call virgin POCs down below, and they've got to be taken out at some point. Price always goes back to those virgin points of control, but the problem is we don't know when. It could be any time, it could be this week, it could be next month, might be next year. So let's go back to the 15-minute chart and have a look at what's going on. We put the matrix on. As you can see, we've got a Ninja matrix up, which came in at 417 this morning. And just explained that for some reason on Global Prime, they've got the timings out by 2 minutes. Whereas on, if I just change to Oanda, for instance, you've got sort of 12, 6, 12, 18, they're exactly on the hours. Whereas Oanda, for whatever reason, Global Prime, for whatever reason, is marking them off at 12:02, 6:02. That's a bit weird, but I can live with that. So as I say, at 4:17 this morning, we got a Ninja matrix up. And it's going away from the target, and I suspect I've got to take profit on this line here. If I just move you guys out of the way, I can see where that is. That's 1659. What normally happens with gold is it bounces from the target to the value area high and then reverses. Even if it's only for a short time, it'll reverse when it gets to that point there. It might bounce off it and then break through it, or it might bounce off it and come back to the target. Those are the 2 alternatives. So that's why I got into the trade, because it's looking like it's heading at least up until that point. And I'm going back into profit now. Well, I was in profit, but I was falling behind a little bit, and it's now starting to increase. So let's check the situation with an indicator. I need to put the Heikin Ashi candles on. And so as you can see, we got a Ninja up slightly before the Ninja matrix. I think it was 1 candle before. So there was a Ninja matrix, there was a Ninja up. So there's 2 things ticked off on my checklist: a Ninja up and a Ninja matrix up. And then the third thing that I look for is the moving averages. And as you can see, the yellow 5 MA is moving away. There's a decent gap between the 5 MA and the 13 MA. And we've also got a gap between the 13 and the 20. So that's looking good. I'm going to stay in this trade. I'm 32 pips up at the minute. And let's have a look at something else. This huge drop yesterday gives me a few more clues as to where price might be heading. And to show you that, I need to remove the matrix. It'd be easy if I remove the indicator. One thing you can do using volume profile to see what is likely to happen, if you take the session volume off for the minute, just start off with a very clean chart. If I put the, I go down to where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here. Get the fixed range volume profile. If I start at the very top of this first downward candle, so if I click on that candle there, and I also click on the last candle of that drop, which was there. Are you with me? Am I explaining what I'm doing? Can you see what I just did there? I put
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
I put the volume profile on for that move from the top of that candle there to the bottom of that candle there. And it gave me a new POC. But look where it is. Can you see what happened yesterday when it reached that POC? It went into consolidation. And the peak of the trading for that time period, which was from 7:32 in the morning until 12:17. So there was about 5 hours there. And the peak of the trading was at that point there. So that meant that a lot of people were investing money at that point, and yet price wasn't shifting that much. They were consolidating their positions. So buyers and sellers, we don't know because that's a total volume. But if we change, we go to the settings, and instead of total volume, if I click on up and down volume, you can see the blue are buyers placing orders and the yellow is sellers placing orders. I mean, it's not particularly clear. I would say that there's actually slightly more sellers placing orders there. I'll zoom in and just have a look at that. Yes, there's slightly more sellers. The gold bars are the sellers and the blue bars are the buyers. So it looks like there was a lot of selling activity went on at that time. And this is the big institutions consolidating their positions. So having gone back to look at that, if I put my cursor on that line there and look across to the right, look what's happened. Price has come back roughly, it wicked through that area once, wicked through it twice, and it bounced off it. It came back and it hit that area again and tried to get through it. Well, it did wick through it, it went slightly through it, but it bounced off it. And we're now in a situation where it's actually made its breakthrough. At this point here, it made its breakthrough. And what I'm seeing there is the possibility that price is going to do what I want it to do, which is go up there and hit that line. And then it's going to come back to this point here because sellers are going to defend that position and sellers will want price to come back down again. So this is just my theory. I have been wrong before, but I'm trying to work out what's going on in the market, and I'm trying to build it on what has happened in the past. So that's another way that you can use the volume profile tool. You can highlight where the peak of activity was in a big trending move like that. It's not as useful when you're looking at patterns like this because there's not as much movement. But what I'll do is I'll do the same thing on this movement upwards here and see if it tells us anything. So I'll get rid of that. Okay, volume profile. I'll take it from its lowest point, which was there, to its highest point, which was there, and see what that tells us. We've got another point of control here now, look. So this is where the peak of the activity occurred. That was like 3 o'clock, sorry, at 3 Oh, I'm telling lies here. It's at that price, which is 1852, and there's another peak of activity at 1855. So there's another two significant areas, all within this field of play that we're looking at. So I think for this morning anyway, we're going to be bouncing around in this field of play. What will happen once New York opens at 1:30 is anybody's guess. If I had to make a prediction, it would be that at 1:30 we'll get out of this area and it'll go upwards. But as I say, don't take my word for it. I have been wrong before. But that's really just a bit of an insight into what I think when or how I try and work out what's going to happen. This big drop, and I think I said yesterday there was something like 300 pips from the top there down to the bottom there. Yeah, 300. You go from the top extreme to the bottom extreme. It's 346 pips there. Somebody's investing an awful lot of money because it takes $10 million to move the price by 1 pip, and it moved by 346 pips. So somebody's got a lot of spare cash. They've moved it down, and I haven't looked too closely at this, but I suspect there's quite a bit of imbalance in there. This where my cursor is now at the bottom of that wick, down to that area there, that's an area of imbalance. So price has got to come back up and fill that at some point. So I'll mark that. I'm just doing rough calculations here. I'm not saying that this is accurate, but there's an area there. And if any of you watch Paul, he would be saying that's an area imbalance and that's got to be filled. I'm taking a slightly, I'm not actually going that deep into it. I'm just saying there's a big move there. It's looks like manipulation to me, and there's an area where price might go once it gets out of our field of play. So I'll leave that on, and we'll just see if it actually goes that way. Any questions at this stage? I'm just going to check my trade.
Hi, Richard.
Yeah.
Could I ask a question, if it doesn't interrupt your flow,
No,
about
the
trading on Monday?
Right.
Because I marked everything up on Monday based on Friday, and
right.
you got a lot. You posted that you got quite a lot of pips, but I didn't understand how that happened, because for me, if I had it marked up unless I had it marked up incorrectly, it didn't go into the value area on Monday.
Well, we'll have a look at that.
Thank you.
We'll look at it and see what actually happened. So you were using Friday's point of control to decide what was going to happen on Monday.
Indeed, yes.
Right. So this is Friday, and if I put the that's, if I can see that correctly, that's on the first candle on Friday, and that's on the last candle on Friday. So you would have been looking at the point of control going here.
Yeah.
So I'll extend that. So that's our point of control for Monday. I'll make it red. So this is the line we're looking at. We'll put the field of play on, and in order to do that, I need to zoom in, because need to see where the blue becomes grey. So we need to put a line on at the top of the blue where blue becomes grey. I'll change that to, just so we don't get confused, I'll just make it a dashed line. And I'll put the third line on there. And that's also a dashed line. Okay, so zoom out again. And so we've got this area from there down to there. So that's your field of play. Is that more or less what you had?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So far, so good. And I'll make it a different colour. There we are. So that's quite clear now. That's our field of play. So this is the opening of trading on Monday. Yes, Monday. So price opened outside the field of play. It came down into it just wicked into the field of play on a number of occasions. But as you quite rightly say, it never actually got into the never approached the target. It bounced off it, and actually that was common last week. It happened quite a bit last week, where it didn't get into the field of play at all. If you look back, it was rising all of the time. So day after day, it did exactly what it did on Monday last week. It did exactly what it did on Monday. Therefore, my three-line strategy doesn't work on that particular day. And so if we're just going on the three-line strategy, we don't get a trade. However, we've developed the strategy a little bit to still get some trades out of that situation. And it's using the thoughts of Anastasia on Go Live, and she works on taking trades away from the point of control. So if we put the matrix on and also put the Ninjacator on, this is what we were looking at on Monday. And we've got, I think what we had on Monday was we had a POC from a previous day, which was up in this area here. Let's try and go back and find that. You see the top of this activity here, which was just in rough terms, it was about 1854. I seem to remember that there was a POC that came along.
Yeah, there was.
So that would have been round about that level there. So just we would have been looking at 1854. Somewhere around here, there was a POC from a previous date. I've got a feeling there was one further up as well. But because we were outside the field of play, I went for, I was working on my checklist, which is basically, if we look at this, take the Ninjacator. I looked at this on Monday. This is Monday, isn't it? Yeah, it bounced off the top a few times, and then at 1:15, we got a Ninja matrix up at that point. So I got interested. I started to take interest at this point because it was round about the New York opening, just before New York opening, and there's always a big move, or there's normally a big move at around that time. So I was watching it, and the first box to be ticked on my checklist was the Ninja Matrix up, which occurred at that point there. If I put the Ninjacator on, you'll see that shortly afterwards, at 1:30, we got a Ninja up as well. So this is where I become interested. I then look at the moving average situation, and I noticed that slightly after that Ninja up, we've got a nice separation. The 5 MA starts to move well away from the 13 MA. The 13 is actually hiding the 20 at that point. But the fact that the 5 MA is separating from the 13 MA is a good point as far as I'm concerned. It's a good move. We've also got a PSAR below, which is something else that I check for. You would expect that once you get the Ninja up that the PSAR would also have changed, but not in 100% of cases. I'm just checking my trade, bear with me 1 second. Yes, we're still in profit. I'm actually 34 pips up at the minute. So,
Well done.
well, I don't know if you were on a little bit earlier when I said I'm expecting the price. This is current price. I'm expecting it to go up to the top of the value area high, and then it'll probably start to reverse. It'll bounce off there, that's for sure. Whether it bounces off long term and comes back down, or whether it breaks through and goes up to this area, I don't know, but we'll see. So just to go back to Monday, I had a Ninja Matrix up, I had an Ninjacator up, I have a good separation of the 5 and the 13 MA, and so I would have got in at round about this point. Not necessarily on the Ninja up candle. I would probably have waited for that separation to happen. But I would certainly have been getting in on this candle here. That's the 1345 candle. And because the Ninja Matrix stayed green, and we were still on a Ninja up, and there was still a good separation, I would have stayed in at least until that point. And certainly my style of trading, I would have got out when the Ninja down occurred there at the latest. Jeff would contradict what I've just said. Jeff would say, hang on a minute, you've still got a green Ninja Matrix, so trust the matrix and stay in. I'm a bit less secure in that situation, so I would have got out of that situation at that point there, and that would have been, just very roughly, that would have been 145 pips.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, you would have got less than 145 because you'd have waited until that second candle started, and you might have got out. I would look to get out once that yellow MA starts to curl around. But I work on a slightly different basis to Jeff. I think I don't want to lose any of this money, so let's get out. Jeff would have stayed in. He would have ridden this out because the Ninja Matrix is still showing green. So he would have stayed in and then ridden that back up to the top there. In fact, he would have stayed in until this point here, until the end of the day, because it's still green. But the way I would have tackled it is I would have taken some pips on that move there, which I did. I got out at its peak there. I waited until the ninja up occurred again. So I would have got in at this point here. Again, the moving averages are in my favour, and I would have taken pips certainly up to that point. And if I'd been fairly brave, I might have gone up to that point. But again, I would have. We're looking at 9:30 in the evening. I would have certainly got out. I don't like carrying trades overnight. But that was how I got those pips on Monday. I decided that it wasn't going to get into the field of play. I wasn't going to sit and wait until tomorrow. I was going to look for some pips. And also bearing in mind that this was, if you look at the bigger picture, as we did before, we've been trending upwards every day since 28th of January. Every day prices increase. It's been a nice steady upward trend. So Monday that continued that trend.
Yeah.
So does that? Did I answer your question there, Helen? Or?
No, you absolutely did. Thank you very much.
Okay. So that's really just how I trade when price isn't in the field of play. I say, okay, I'm not going to. I'm obviously not going to get a trade today if I'm just going on the 3 lines strategy. So let's look at other alternatives. And as I say, I'm pretty sure that on Monday we had an outstanding point of control up in this area.
Yeah.
I can go back and find it, but it'll take me.
Yeah, I could probably get back and find it as well. Thank you. Yeah.
But that was what led me to getting into that trade. And similarly on Tuesday, you were in a similar situation. My thoughts were that this price is going to continue to go up, but it didn't. It turned around. Let's look at that situation there. We take a ninja off. At this point here, we had a ninja down, a ninja matrix down. We'd already had a ninja cater down at that point. So ninja cater down, ninja matrix down, and again, a good separation. The yellow is well below the red 13. And so I got into this trade at some point just after there, and I took pips on the way down. So that's how I trade when price is outside the field of play. And I learned that by watching Anastasia on Go Live. I've just mentioned a couple of other things that she stresses on that strategy. And that is, if I can find an example, yes, again on Monday on this area here. Obviously, Anastasia doesn't use the Ninja Matrix, and she doesn't use the Ninja Cater. She looks at the bear charts, and she would say, okay. She would be using Monday's point of control. We don't use it because it has a habit of moving during the day, but she would be referring to this point of control, and she would say, is price moving away from the point of control? And at this point, it's starting to move upwards. At this point, maybe if she would be getting interested when this candle closed. She would notice that candle had both opened and closed above the point of control, and it's heading away from the point of control. And she would be looking at getting in on that candle, and if not, she would definitely be. She talks about air between the bottom of the candle and the point of control. What she means is there a gap? And so that candle, yes, there is a gap. That one, there quite definitely is a gap. And she will be looking at getting in. I suspect because she knows what she's doing, she would have got in at the close of that candle, and she would have ridden it. She'd probably stayed in through that candle and ridden it up to its peak. She has her own checklist for exiting trades, and she, without going into detail, she will be wanting to get out when price starts to change, starts to turn round about here. She may well have stayed in until that point. I don't know. I don't know what lines she had drawn on a chart, but she would have had some lines drawn on a chart going back to previous action, outstanding points of control, and so on. And she would have taken it, as I say, once price gets away from the point of control. She has a slightly different version. Let's have a look at this one. It's coming back to the point of control, so she wouldn't be in. She would get into this trade once there's a gap between the point of control and the bottom of the candle. So if she was taking that trade, she would get in there and ride it down to the bottom there. So I'm basing my sort of advanced version of V70 on what Anastasia teaches, and it's paying dividends because I'm not restricted to this field of play. I can take pips when it's moving away from the point of control. So,
Richard, just a quick question,
yeah,
if I may. Do you need any special subscriptions to get Anastasia's videos? Because I tried accessing and it said need Gold Cup or something.
yes, I was fortunate in that she did a 5-day boot camp a couple of months ago, and that was on the normal FRX channel. But for some reason, she's now. I think you've now got to have the Gold Cup in order to access them. So we've got them in the, or we've got a link to them in the guide section in the Ninja group. But I've done the same. I've tried to look back over them, and it won't let me in because you need to pay an extra subscription to get the Gold Cup.
Yeah,
Yeah, you need the Pro Pack, Forex Pro Pack.
Right.
Gold Cup, and then you need to pay for the Gold Cup on top of that, another $10.
Okay. Right.
So that's another $60, I think.
Right. I mean, it may well be worth subscribing, even if just for 1 month, to get advantage. I mean, she's got a lot of videos in there, and she did that, as I say, a 5-day boot camp, which I found extremely useful. What I did, I took a lot of screenshots from that. I couldn't record the video, but I took screenshots. I've got about 50 screenshots from her boot camp, and I keep referring back to it, and I find it extremely useful. Let me see if I can find that. If I can go back there, the Anas 1, 2. These are the screenshots that I took from the boot camp, and
can't see them on your screen, by the way.
Oh, you can't see, right? Okay, I need to. But anyway, what I can do, if anybody's interested, I can access those and use them in my next session, and sort of go through them and explain them to you if you like. But I did think about taking the Gold Cup subscription just for a month to really catch up on her videos, because I thought it was really interesting stuff. Let me just check my trade. Seem to be doing all right. Yeah, I'm currently 25 pips up.
Ooh,
So it's taking its time. Let's just see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that what's going to happen. Don't take my word for it. Don't enter a trade just because I've said this. Price opened above the point of control. It went down to it. There's a slight difference between the 15-minute chart and the. There we go. This is a 15-minute chart. So it went down to the point of control, wicked it, and then came away from it. It was in consolidation for a while, and then you see it started to move away on that candle there.
hmm.
So that was probably when I got in, about 5:30. Let me just check. Yeah, that was more or less when I got in, because of that gap between the candle and the point of control.
What time do you get on the charts in the morning, Richard?
I quite often have a quick look as soon as I wake up. I'm dog sitting at the minute, so I get up to take the dog out for a week. So around about 5:30. I don't sit and watch them. I just glance what's going on. And this morning I thought, hang on a minute, we're looking promising here. So I got in, but I wouldn't normally get in at 5:30. It was purely and simply because I'm reasonably confident of this move. We've got the POC down here. We're heading towards the top. This is the top extreme of the field of play. Today's point of control is where we're at now, and that I don't trade using today's point of control, but it is an important area because it's actually stuck at that point of control now. That's why we've got a slight reversal in price. It'll bounce or break. It'll either bounce off it or it'll break through it. And I suspect it'll break through it and go up to that point. And then I'll take another look at the chart and I'll decide whether I think it's going to bounce off there or whether it's going to go through. And that's as far as I'm thinking today. I suspect that 1:30 there'll be something interesting. Well, there's quite a bit of news in the States at 1:30. Quite a lot of red flag news, I seem to remember. I'll just have
It's this afternoon they decide whether they go to war with Russia, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which will make gold go up if war happens, then gold will rise in price.
It certainly will. That's my feeling as well. But even on the normal economic calendar today, am I sharing the screen? Can you see the?
Yeah, sure can, Rich.
So we've got red flag Canadian news and red flag US news at 1:30 today, and even if there wasn't red flag news, the market does tend to be manipulated at 1:30 anyway. They use the New York opening as the excuse to move price where they want it to move to. There's my thoughts on today. I think it's going to. I think it'll go up to that point at least. It might well go up to take out that area of imbalance there, but I'm not thinking any further ahead than that. We'll see what happens at 1:30.
Really helpful. Thank you, Richard. I'm afraid I have to dash now.
Okay, well, we've just about finished anyway.
Okay.
Helen.
Thanks a lot. See you all soon.
No problem. Cheers now. Thank you.
Bye.
Right. Any further questions? And I'm still 26 pips in profit. So happy days.
Happy days.
I'm just going to keep an eye on this, because if it does decide to bounce off that point of control, today's point of control, I may as well get out. I may as well take 25, 26 pips and then think about getting back in when it decides what it wants to do. So there's my thoughts on today, and I'm afraid I'm running out of things to talk about unless anybody's got any final questions, observations, queries, whatever. And my dog is looking at me with begging eyes. Who wants his dinner? Who wants his breakfast?
That's a compelling reason.
Yeah, I dogs. I've got a friend who's going through a bit of a rough time at the minute, and I'm doing a lot of dog sitting at the minute.
Very good.
He's really well behaved, but he's actually trying to stare me out at the minute.
As they do.
So I'll go and feed him and take him for a wee. Right, okay. So I'm going to end this meeting unless there's any final questions.
That's great. As always, Richard, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Richard.
I'll see you next time.
Thanks
Cheers.
a lot.
Absolutely.
Bye, mate.
Have a good night.
Cheers.
Cheers now. Bye.